Hello, students. Welcome to our Speaking Strategies, Lesson 2. In this lesson, we are going to learn about IELTS Speaking Part 1 and speak about hobbies and leisure activities in this part. At the end of the video, students are about to recognize Speaking Part 1 through a sample question. Comprehend tips and tactics for this part. Discuss features of a good answer in IELTS Speaking Part 1, and finally, apply new vocabulary and effective strategies to talk about hobbies and leisure activities in IELTS Speaking Part 1. Please take a look at this. There are 6 words and phrases that you have learned from the vocabulary video: to unwind, to refresh, pastime, leisure time, to boost my energy levels, to maintain a work-life balance. These words will be applied effectively to discuss the topic of hobbies and leisure activities in IELTS Speaking Part 1, which will be highlighted yellow in the sample answers of this lesson. Here's what the video covers. 1. Basic information about Part 1 in the IELTS speaking test. 2. Effective strategies for answering the questions in this part. 3. Practice section. Now, let's get started. Let's start with the task introduction. In the IELTS speaking test, there are 3 parts. The first part is where you and the examiner get to know each other, and the examiner asks you questions about your everyday life. In Part 2, you will be given a cue card with a topic and will have to speak about it for 2 minutes. This topic will then be discussed further in Part 3, which involves a two-way discussion. This video focuses on Part 1 of the IELTS speaking test. So what's special about IELTS Speaking Part 1? This part is designed to test your ability to answer some general questions on familiar topics, such as family, food, hometown, leisure activities, and so on. It also helps you settle into the test and get over your nerves, so the questions are not meant to be too challenging. Here are some common topics for questions in Part 1, and a few example questions about hobbies and leisure activities in IELTS Speaking Part 1. Do you have a hobby that you and your friends or family can enjoy doing together? What's the most challenging hobby have you ever tried? Do you prefer to spend your free time alone or with others? In the IELTS speaking test, you will be assessed on 4 criteria, which are fluency and coherence, pronunciation, lexical resource, and grammatical range and accuracy. The first criterion is fluency and coherence. Here, the examiner assesses your ability to keep talking. For example, can you say more than just a word or phrase in answer to a question? The examiner also assesses your ability to express your ideas clearly and logically, so that they flow naturally when you speak at length. Can you use various linking words to connect your ideas, such as first of all, next, however, additionally, and so on? The examiner also assesses whether you can do all this without hesitation, self-correction, or repeating yourself. The next criterion is pronunciation. The examiner assesses your ability to speak English clearly enough to be understood. For example, do you produce each of the sounds correctly? Do you put the stress in the right place in words and sentences? For example, you must say television, not tele-vision. The examiner also assesses if you can use intonation to help communicate your ideas clearly, and if it is easy for other people to understand your pronunciation. Lexical resource can also be called vocabulary range. In this criterion, you will be assessed on the ability to use a wide range of vocabulary accurately and appropriately. You can ask yourself these questions. Can you paraphrase the question? Do you know enough words to say what you mean on a range of different topics? Do you know when to use idiomatic phrases and less common words? For example, if you can use idioms like, "It rains cats and dogs," you can gain a higher score. Another question is, can you do all this without making too many word form or collocation mistakes? For example, if you say, "do a decision," that's an incorrect collocation. Instead, you should say, "make a decision." The last criterion is grammatical range and accuracy. You will be assessed on your ability to use a range of grammatical structures flexibly and accurately. For example, do you use both simple and complex structures in your answer? These can include conditional sentences, relative clauses, and other structures. And can you produce your answers without making too many mistakes? Let's move on to part 2 of the video. Strategies to answer questions in IELTS Speaking Part 1. Let's start by analyzing the answer to the question. Is there a hobby that you and your friends or family can enjoy doing together? Look at the bad answer. Yes, there is. When you provide a short response like this, the examiner can't properly evaluate your speaking skills, resulting in a low score. A good answer should have more ideas. Therefore, you should answer the question and extend your ideas. One common method for extending your answers in IELTS Speaking Part 1 questions is by giving reasons and examples. You can include both reasons and examples, or choose to use just one of them. Here's an example of a good answer. Firstly, you should answer the question directly. Definitely yes. I love spending time cooking with my family and friends. Then, you may give an example. I always look forward to my weekend when we can gather and make many dishes, either at home or in a cooking class. Finally, you can give the reasons for your answer. Like, we all love doing this activity together because it allows us to share our cooking knowledge and skills while creating precious memories with our loved ones. And this is an even better version. In addition to expanding on ideas, you can rephrase the questions and use more advanced vocabulary, like the words or phrases I highlighted in red. Doing so will enable you to achieve a higher score in the lexical resource category. Noted that the yellow highlighted words or phrases are the vocabulary from this lesson. Let's have a look at the even better answer. One of my favorite pastimes, which I love doing with my family members or friends, is cooking. I always look forward to the weekends when we can gather at home and experiment with new recipes or attend a cooking class together. As much as I love my work, I also recognize the importance of maintaining a healthy work-life balance. By cooking with my loved ones, I can improve my culinary skills and create lasting memories with them. It's also rewarding to enjoy a meal that we've all had a hand in preparing. I have replaced hobby and enjoy with pastime, favorite and enjoy. Besides, some advanced words or idioms have also been used, such as culinary skills, rewarding, or have a hand in. Here are some advanced words or phrases from the even better answer. 1. Culinary skills. It's a noun phrase which means cooking skills. 2. Rewarding is an adjective. It's similar to satisfying or beneficial. 3. To have a hand in is an idiom, meaning to be involved with something or have influence on something. Here's another example for you. The question is, what's the most challenging hobby you have ever tried? Do not give a short answer like, that's playing the guitar. Instead, extend your ideas. Here's how I extend my ideas using reasons. It's okay if you don't give any examples. Playing the guitar is the most challenging hobby I've ever tried. My first reasons is, at the beginning, it was difficult for me to get my fingers to move correctly on the strings and form the right chords. And reason 2, besides, I had to learn to read the notes and understand musical theory, which was quite challenging. And this is a better version answer of this question. I guess the most challenging hobby I've ever taken up is playing the guitar. At first, it was tough to get my fingers to move correctly on the strings and form the right chords. Understanding musical theory and learning to read music was also a daunting task that took me a while to master. Despite the difficulties, seeing my progress over time has been incredibly satisfying. When I finally got the hang of it, playing the guitar became a wonderful way to unwind and refresh my mind. As you can see, I have paraphrased the questions and used some advanced words in the second version. Let's review some advanced vocabulary from the answer. Daunting, that's an adjective, meaning making you feel slightly frightened or worried about your ability to achieve something. Master is a verb. It means to learn how to do something well. Satisfying, an adjective, meaning making you feel pleased by providing what you need or want. To get the hang of something is a verb phrase that means to learn how to do something, especially if it is not obvious or simple. Now, we have come to the last section of the video, which is practice. Here's the question. Do you prefer to spend your free time alone or with others? Let's have a look at the strategies that we have learned. Try to think about how you use them to answer the question. You can pause the video and answer it. Now, for strategy number 1 and 2, answer the question directly and extend your ideas with reasons and/or examples. Here's my suggestion. The answer is with others. The reasons are, I can't stand being lonely and more enjoyable when being with others. The example is engaging in various activities with family and friends. For strategy 3, paraphrase the question, I will replace the word alone with by myself and the structure prefer, or with would rather than. For strategy 4, I will use some advanced words or phrases like unwind, recharge my batteries. Based the previous ideas, we can have a well-extended answer like this. I'd rather spend my leisure time with other people than be by myself. This is partly because I can't stand feeling lonely. Besides, it's much more enjoyable when surrounded by my loved ones, sharing experiences and creating memories with them. In fact, I often spend my weekends engaging in various activities like cooking, going to the cinema, and going shopping with my family or friends. This is how I unwind and recharge my batteries. Let's recap a few important points of today's lesson. First, I have introduced to you the format of IELTS Speaking Part 1. Remember that, in the IELTS Speaking Part 1, questions are related to familiar topics, like work, study, or family, and they are not too challenging. Then, we have discovered some criteria in IELTS speaking, including fluency and coherence, pronunciation, lexical resources, and finally, grammar range and accuracy. After that, you've also learned some strategies in Speaking Part 1, and they are answering the question directly, extending your ideas, paraphrasing the questions, and using advanced words. That is the end of our lesson today. Thank you for your attention. See you again in the next lesson.